Friends, in this lecture, I am going to discuss the concept of correlation coefficient. I suppose that you are all familiar with the calculation of correlation coefficient. You know the formula, all textbooks give the formula, and many of you may have even calculated correlation coefficient between two variables. My focus in this lecture will be more on the logic. What actually correlation coefficient does, what are its merits, what are its demerits, and depending on data, nature of data, what kind of modifications would be required in conceptualizing correlation. There are several formulae for calculating correlation coefficients, and in some situations it is called correlation ratio. Let us see what it is, and in how in different kinds of situations different kinds of correlations are obtained. You know, this diagram shows that if there is a variable x, height, these figures are of heights of some randomly selected people, and these are measures of self-esteem. Self-esteem is a psychological measure which measures to what extent we rate ourselves positively. Definition of self-esteem is actually not so important, it is one variable. We call this variable dependent variable, and this variable which is shown on x-axis independent variable, and a pattern like this emerges. Now, this pattern suggests that as the values of x increase, as we move from left to right, the values of self-esteem or dependent variable tend to rise. And in this situation, one can even say that self-esteem seems to be connected with height. If we are looking for a unitary measure of relationship between self-esteem and height, it is correlation coefficient. When to use it? In analysis of data on two or more variables which seem to move together either in the same direction or in opposite directions. Same direction means if the values of x increase, then the values of y also increase, and opposite direction means when the values of x increase, the values of y decrease. Examples of some correlated variables would be like this: income and fertility rate. Usually you find that households or respondents who have high income have lower fertility rate, and the same thing is true about regional variations, about national, international variations. Countries where income is high, in industrially and economically advanced countries, fertility rate is low, and in industrially less advanced and low per capita income countries, fertility rate is still high or moderate. Growth rate of income and crime rate. Another example, to what extent crime rate depends on growth rate of income. Poverty and suicide rate, religiosity and prejudices, political prejudices, social prejudices, stigmas, whether religiously liberal people have more prejudices or discriminatory tendencies or biases against certain communities or castes. Then family type and family size, means whether nuclear families have higher fertility or joint families have higher fertility. Domestic violence and nutrition, whether there is any connection between ever experience of domestic violence by women and their nutrition level. Education and comprehensive knowledge of HIV/AIDS. We normally expect that as education goes up, more educated people have higher awareness and more comprehensive knowledge of HIV/AIDS as compared to less educated people. The data for calculating relationships and correlation coefficients may come from survey or from longitudinal studies or even from census. But if the data come from sample surveys, then as we have seen in the lectures on sampling, they will be subjected to sampling fluctuations, and we will need their standard errors and other things, confidence intervals or relative error as in general with all measures based on sample data. It is a fundamental concept in studies of causes and predictions, because causes, the term cause in social science means that if there is a variable say x, usually independent variables are shown by x and dependent variables are shown by y, although there is no hard and fast rule like that. You can do anything. Then if changes in x at a given point of time produce changes in y after a lag of time, then we say that x is a cause of y, or changes in x produce changes in y. In that sense, x and y have a causal relationship. Correlation coefficient measures the degree and direction of the relationship between two variables. One is the concept and another is coefficient. Correlation coefficient measures, it is a measure of a unitary measure of two things, the degree, this is one, and direction of the relationship 2 between two variables. One of them must be numeric, and we also have concepts of partial and part correlations, which measure the relationship between two variables when influences of other variables seemingly linked with them are removed from both or one of them. Like relationship between x and y may often be due to z, some variable, third variable z, because z is correlated with both x and y. So, you do find an empirical relationship between x and y. If the effect of z is removed from both x and y, then what correlation coefficient remains between them? That is called partial correlation. And if the effect of z is removed from only one of them, either x or y, and then correlation coefficient between x and y is calculated, then it is called part correlation. So, this is the difference between partial and part. In partial, effect of z is removed from both, and in part, effect of z is removed either from x or from y. There is also a term you will find in literature, canonical correlation, which measures the degree and direction of relationship between two sets of variables. Here we are not calculating correlation between two variables, but there is one set of variables and we are calculating correlation of this set with another set of variables. Actually, this canonical correlation concept applies to multivariate data. When you are not measuring variables in terms of scalar quantities, but in terms of vectors. So, in case of vectors, when you are trying to link one vector with another vector, then you have canonical correlation. Then in that case, you make linear combinations of all the variables in first set and linear combination of all the variable in the second set, and then calculate correlation coefficient between these two linear combinations. Let us be more technical. Correlation is to be used when there are two variables believed to be connected causally and asymmetrically. Causally, I have explained that if changes in x produce changes in y after a lapse of time, then x and y are causally connected. And asymmetrically, sometimes we are dealing with situations in which x affects y and y also affects x, that is symmetrical relationship. Asymmetrical relationship is one in which x only affects y does not in turn affect x. The example of symmetrical relationship would be relationship between work status of women and fertility. Work status affects fertility, fertility affects their work status. An example of asymmetrical relationship would be the relationship between income of parents and education. The income of parents affects children's education, but children's education may not affect parents' income. So, that is asymmetrical relationship. Correlation coefficient is used for measuring strength and direction of asymmetric correlations. One deviates from respective mean, means one variable deviates from respective mean in a similar way as the other variable, though the direction may be different. In statistical language, when they possess high covariance, they are called correlated. What is covariance? Covariance is sigma or summation of deviations of x's from mean of x multiplied by deviations of y from mean of y. X minus mx for different values of x, we calculate mx and subtract mx from all values of x. Similarly, we subtract my, mean of all y values from y values, multiply them and add them, that becomes sigma this thing. Now, technically sigma x minus mx divided by y minus technically sigma x minus mx multiplied by y minus my divided by n, this is called covariance. But since n is a fixed number and correlation will depend on x minus mx and y minus my, so I have written only that part. A word of caution: correlation is only an aid to analyze a causal relationship. Empirical correlation does not mean that two variables are causally connected. Correlation is not a corroboration of causal and asymmetric relationship. Relationship may be symmetric, relationship may be influenced by other variables. An example of an empirical relationship which is not causal or even theoretical is the relationship between income and fertility. Empirically, the relationship between income and fertility is negative, but theoretically it should be positive, because those people who have higher income can afford to have more number of children, and since there is some utility associated with children as with other consumption goods or with investment goods. So, those who have higher income, they can afford to and they would like to have more number of children, since more number of children means more utility of children, but empirical relationship is negative. So, sometimes there is a conflict between empirical relationship and theoretical relationship, and empirical relationship is not always indicative of causal relationship between two variables. How to proceed in a correlational analysis? To do causal analysis, first of all, you have your data on x and y with you or a number of variables, but we will do correlational analysis pairwise between two variables only at a time. Draw a scatter plot. A scatter plot on which you plot values of x on x axis or horizontal axis and values of y on vertical axis or y axis. Shapes of the scatter plot would then show whether there is a relationship or not, and whether the relationship is positive or negative, is strong or weak. There are so many possibilities. There may not exist any relationship, there may exist a relationship, the relationship may be strong or weak, and the relationship may be positive or negative. This we will know by looking at the scatter plots or graphs or charts on which y is plotted against x. These are 4 possible patterns. Many other patterns are also possible. For illustration of positive and negative relationship, I have shown only 4 plots. In all 4 cases, dependent variable is shown on y axis and independent variable is shown on x axis. Now, what does this show? This shows that as the values of x increase, values of y also increase. So, this point has low values of x and also has low values of y. This point has high values of x and also high values of y. This point has still higher value of x and a higher value of y. Now, a close look at these points show that in general those respondents or those subjects who are characterized by high values of x also manifest high values of y, and in this case we say that there is a positive relationship between x and y. And since it is possible for you to draw a straight line passing through most of these points in such a manner that a large number of points fall on the straight line, some points are above the straight line and some points are below the straight line. This kind of relationship is called positive and linear association. It is positive because both x and y change in the same direction, and it is linear because this pattern suggests a linear relationship between x and y. I will explain the term linear more a little later. In this case, as x increases, values of y decline. Take this point. This point has low values of x, but high values of y. This point has high values of x, but a low value of y. This point has a middle value of x and also a middle value of y. So, that means as the values of x increase, values of y decline, and again there is a kind of negative and linear relationship between x and y. Negative because as x increases, y falls, y declines. They do not move in the same direction, they move in opposite direction, and most of these data points fall on a straight line or are close to this straight line. In this case, there is no association between x and y. Why? Because there are these points, this point where x is low, but y can be low, y can be moderate, or y can be high. Here there are points for which x is high, again y can be low, the y is low, y is moderate, and y is high. So, on the basis of values of x, if you know that value of x is low or high, you cannot predict the values of y. For low as well as high values of x, values of y can be low or high. In such a case, we say that there is no relationship, there is no association between x and y, no relationship between x and y. They are not associated with each other. There is no causal relationship, symmetric or asymmetric. Now, we cannot guess any relationship between x and y. In this particular case, we find that there seems to be a pattern. If you divide the graph into 2 parts, you find that in this part there is a kind of linear and negative relationship. This part looks very much similar to this diagram, and this part of this diagram looks very similar to this. What it means that there is a non-linear relationship between x and y, a U-shaped curve. There is a curvilinear relationship between x and y, a parabolic relationship between x and y. As the values of x increase, initially the values of y decline, they reach a minimum point here, and further increase in x leads to increase in the values of y. So, you can say there is a non-linear or curvilinear or parabolic relationship between the two x and y. So, it is important to remember that correlation is not necessarily causal. Then how do you guess whether there is a causal relationship or not? Let the literature decide. It is your hypothesis that there may be a relationship between x and y. This will be your hypothesis, which is derived from the reading of literature. Let the literature decide whether the relationship is symmetric or asymmetric, whether relationship exists or not, and whether it is symmetric or asymmetric. On the basis of reports of the previous studies or on the basis of theoretical literature, you decide whether there is a relationship between two variables or not, and whether it is symmetric or asymmetric. Direct and indirect. I will show with the help of diagram what does direct indirect means. Mediator and moderator. Whether relationship between x and y is mediated or moderated by some other variables, and whether non-linear relationship manifests in the absence of linear relationship. Actually, in the previous case, if you calculate a correlation coefficient between x and y, you may find that the correlation is weak or 0. It does not exist or it takes a very small value. But if you calculate correlation coefficients separately for the two parts, one part in which x and y show a negative linear relationship and another part in which they show a positive linear relationship, you may find two significant correlations for the two parts. And the reason is that you have not understood, if you find a weak correlation between x and y in overall terms, you have actually not understood the nature of relationship between the two variables. It is non-linear. What does linearity mean? These are examples of two straight lines. Linear means following a straight line. What is the property of both? The property is that in in a linear relationship, fixed changes in the values of x produce a fixed change in the values of y. So, like 0 to 0.5, this is the change in x, this is the change in y on the dotted line. Now, when x changes from 0 to 0.5, there is a change of 0.5 in x, and this is the change in y. When x changes from 3.5 to 4, again 3.5 to 4, again the same change in x. The change in y, in that case, this change in y is very similar, exactly same actually as the change between 0 and 0.5. Changes in y, delta y, or changes in y for given changes in x, say delta x, are same everywhere irrespective of values of x. Same thing applies to this straight line. In all straight lines, not only in these two straight lines, in all straight lines you will find that the fixed changes in x always produce a fixed change in y. Algebraically, a straight line can be shown as y equal to a plus bx, and delta y by delta x is always b, constant, a constant term, which also shows the slope. This is the slope, this is the slope of one straight line, dotted one, and this is the slope of another straight line. So, this is linear relationship. Now, what is non-linear relationship? This relationship is non-linear. This. Now, here you see for a fixed change in x 0 to 1, this is the change in x, change in y is this. a big change. When x changes from 0 to 1, y changes from 0 to 400. There is a change of 400 in the value of y. At this place, when x changes from 2 to 3, the change is same 1, here also 1, 1, 1, but now the change of y is from this point to this point only, and this is much less than this change of 400. Here the change is much less. In this part, when again x changes from 4 to 5, there is a change of 1, but change in y is still smaller. This change is less than this change, and this change is much less than this change. So, a fixed change in x produces different amounts of change in y, then this kind of relationship is called a non-linear relationship. A parabolic relationship is an example of non-linear relationship, y equal to a plus b x plus c x square, and delta y by delta x now would be b plus 2 c x, means change in y also depends on the value of x. Not only value of y depends on x, but change in y also depends on x. It can be any other type of relationship also, like y equal to some constant c sin x. So, delta y by delta x would be c cos x. That means, change in y with respect to x depends on the values of x. That kind of relationship is non-linear. One is linear and another category is not linear. Not linear is not a specific type of relationship. All those relationships in which change in y with respect to x depends on the values of x, that is non-linear. Is this relationship linear? No, this relationship is not linear. It is a kind of quadratic relationship. Here with a small positive change in x, this will be, say, this is the change in x, this is the change in y, and at this point for the same change in x, change in y is bigger, and here for a small change in x, same amount of change in x, change in y varies and is negative. In this part there is a negative change in the values of y, y declines. Here with increase in x, y increases, and on this part with change in values of x, values of y decrease. So, it is a non-linear relationship, quadratic, it is a quadratic model, and therefore, when a linear model is fitted to these data, it gives a poor fit. It explains only 6% changes in y, x explains only 6% changes in y, but when a quadratic model is fitted, a plus b x plus c x square, then you find that that model explains 60% variations in y. So, we have to be careful about theorizing whether there is a relationship or not. So, if you calculate correlation coefficient between all these points, you will get a poor correlation, but it does not mean that that no relationship exists between x and y. What it means is that the relationship is curvilinear or quadratic. Now, more on the nature of relationship. As I said that a relationship is causal if changes in x at one point of time produce changes in y. X may be gender and y may be income. Now, gender affects income. For variety of reasons, gender affects income, and in almost all countries for similar types of jobs, men earn much more than women. Income does not affect gender. Gender will not change, your income may change, but income will not change your gender. So, that means, while x affects y, y does not affect x, and this kind of relationship is called causal or asymmetrical relationship. This is symmetrical relationship. X affects Y, the arrow shows relationship on both the sides, X affects Y and Y also affects X. This kind of relationship and the example I gave was that of status of women. Status of women affects family size. Working women, especially in urban industrial setup, have a smaller family than non-working women or housewives, and when fertility declines, and that means women have only 1 or 2 children, they finish their reproductive things much earlier, faster and earlier, and by the age of 30 they become free from reproductive burden. So, then they start looking for job. So, the fact that they have less number of children empowers them or enables them to look for jobs, and this affects their status of women. This affects their work status, and work status affects their empowerment. This is an example of non-causal relationship between X and Y. This is X, this is Y. Now, there is no relationship between X, even though there may be some empirical relationship, means correlation coefficient between these two variables may be significant or even high, but there is no causal relationship between X and Y. Then why does correlation come? Correlation comes because there are two other variables U and V, both of which U affects X as well as Y, and there is a V which also affects both X and Y. If you remove the effect of U and V from their relationship, then there may be no correlation between them. So, example is that religion and fertility may have or may not have any relationship. X and Y, religion and fertility are uncorrelated, but may produce empirical correlation due to their relationship with other variables U and V, like education and economic status. It is because of differences in education and economic status of two religions in our country. For political reasons and also for academic reasons, it is said that Muslims have higher fertility than Hindus. The reason is not that Islam encourages more children than Hinduism. The reason is because the educational levels and economic status of Hindus and Muslims are different. If in the future they will have the same educational and economic status, then fertility of the two groups will also become similar. Now, I also mentioned something about direct indirect relationship. This is an example of direct relationship. X directly affects Y, the direct relationship. This is an example of indirect relationship. Indirect relationship means X, a variable which affects dependent variable, affects Y. So, the relationship between X and Y is direct, but Y affects Z, and because of this Y affects Z, there may be a relationship between X and Z. This relationship between X and Z will be called indirect relationship. Like gender affects income, gender affects income through education, gender affects education and education affects income. So, relationship between gender and income is indirect, it is via education. In this diagram, we find joint or a case for joint or interactive relationships. What is that? It is that X affects Z1, Z1 affects Z2, and there is a Y variable which affects Z1. Now, you can say that X and Y jointly affect Z1, and Z1 affects Z2. X is gender bias, Y is education. Gender bias and education affect income, and both of them affect income jointly together. So, there is some effect of X, there is some effect of Y. The effect of X and Y on Z1 is joint. This is what it means. Then Z1 affects Z2 directly. Karl Pearson's correlation is defined like this: covariance between X and Y divided by square root of variance X and variance of Y, or some people may write standard deviation of X into standard deviation of Y. Covariance is this. I have not divided this by n because n is a fixed number anyway, sample size or population size. The major contribution to covariance comes from here, and this is actually the indicator of whether X and Y go together or not. But if you are asked to calculate covariance, you must calculate it as sigma x minus mx, y minus my divided by n, or total number of cases. It lies between, correlation coefficient lies between -1 and +1. The lowest possible value of correlation can be -1, highest possible value can be +1, and if y is the dependent variable, r square shows the proportion of variance of y that is explained by variations in x. This statement helps you in interpreting correlation coefficient. If correlation coefficient between two variables is 0.3, what does it mean? Correlation, absolute value of correlation can be 0 or 1, between 0 and 1. Minus plus shows the direction of relationship. Absolute value of correlation, minimum value is 0, maximum value is 1. So, if it is 0.3, it is a small value, but what does it mean? It means that 0.3 square or 0.09, 9% variation in the dependent variable y is explained by the independent variable, only 9%. If the correlation coefficient is 0.8, then 0.8 square means 0.64, then it means that 64% variation in the dependent variable is explained by the independent variable. So, this is the formula for calculating correlation coefficient. Its value will lie anywhere between -1 and +1. Absolute value will lie between 0 and 1, and if it is close to 0, it means there is no relationship. If it is close to 1, then it means that there is a high and positive and linear relationship between x and y. The denominator is this x minus mx, y minus my. Actually, this divided by n should be written here, this covariance. Now, certain properties of correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient is free from units of measurements. What does that mean? It means that change in units of either variable or addition to or multiplication by any number in all values of x or y does not affect correlation coefficient. Means you take a fixed number, add to all values of x or add to all values of y or to both, or subtract from x or from y or from both, it will not affect the correlation coefficient. If you multiply values of x or values of y or both by a fixed number, that will also not change the correlation coefficient. Thus, the correlation coefficient is independent of mean and SD, which means that the correlation coefficient between standardized variables and between unstandardized variables will be same. Correlation between x and y will be same as correlation between raw values of x and y and normalized or standardized values of x and y, which are obtained by subtracting mean from all the values and dividing deviations by standard deviation. And for this reason, correlation is independent of the units of measurement of x and y. If x is mass or weight, it does not matter whether you measure x in kilograms or share or gram or milligram or tons or quintals, correlation between x and something else y will remain same. Usually a correlation above 0.8 is considered to be high and that below 0.2 is low, but it actually depends on sample size. Calculation of correlation coefficient. Respondents, this is your data matrix, these are respondents, these are values of x, these are values of y. You calculate mean of x, mean of y by adding all these observations and dividing them by 10. Then variance of x, variance of this series, variance of this series. These variances are 12.75 and 11.06. Covariance between the two is 9.72, which is obtained by multiplying deviations of x and y from the respective means and multiplying them. These are the values. Sum of these values divided by 10, n is 10, is 9.72. So, the correlation coefficient between two variables is 9.72 divided by square root of the product of 12.71 and 11.06, and this is equal to 0.82. R square is square of 0.82 or 0.67, which means that 67% variance of y is explained by x, which is quite high. Sometimes you are dealing with rank data. In case of rank data, the earlier correlation coefficient is called Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient, raw data of x and y on interval scale. If the data are on ordinal scale and you are dealing with ranks, then you can calculate Spearman's correlation coefficient. Actually, whether you calculate Spearman's correlation for ranks or correlation coefficient, Pearson's correlation coefficient, you will get the same value, but due to some simple laws of sum of natural number, that correlation coefficient reduces to this simple formula. Some students think that Karl Pearson's correlation and Spearman's correlation are two different things. Actually, both of them are same, but due to certain rules of sum of natural numbers, you have a simple formula. You do not have to calculate covariances and variances. It is rho equal to 1 minus 6 sigma d square, where d is the difference in ranks and n is the sample size or size of the data. This is an example. There are 10 respondents, the same old data, but now here ranks are given. Rank of x, rank of y, difference, difference square, and 1 minus 6 sigma d square is this, and n cube, 10 cube minus 10 equal to 0.95. Spearman's rank correlation is in this case higher than the Karl Pearson for the same data. You see, for the same data, when you use this Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient, then you get one value, and when you calculate rank correlation, you get another value. It may be this shows that their ranks go together, but there is no as much perfect linear relationship in raw data as in ranks. There is a perfect, sort of perfect, because 0.95 is close to 1. So, there is a perfect positive linear relationship between ranks, though not in the raw scores. Sometime one of the two variables is numeric or qualitative. In that case, we calculate biserial and point biserial correlation. Biserial, when the dichotomous variable could be interpreted as continuous, passing or failing an exam. Between passing and failing of exam, there are several stages, those who fail, they vary in marks, those who pass, they also vary in marks. So, there is some kind of continuity between passing and failing, or failing and passing. Those who have failed may have as low marks as 2 and as high marks as say 31. Those who pass, they may have 35 or they may have 90. So, there is some kind of continuity. There we calculate biserial. If we treat dichotomous variables as dichotomous only, pass, fail, and we do not consider the continuity aspect of that, like dead or alive. Dead or alive, this is a perfect case for dichotomous variable. There cannot be any situation between death and life. So, and the logic is that in case of dichotomous variables, use some dummy 0 and 1, 0 and 1 or 1 and 2, it does not matter. 0 and 1, you use 0 and 1 or 1 and 2 or 4 and 5, does not matter, you will get the same correlation, because correlation is independent of origin and scale. Biserial has to be calculated by using a formula after calculating simple correlation between raw values of one variable and dummies for the qualitative variables. Conversion of points biserial to biserial is done by this form. First you calculate point biserial. In point biserial, as I said, there is a dummy 0, 1 or 1, 2 or 4, 5, usually 0 and 1, and the other variable is numeric. After that, this point biserial is converted to biserial by this formula. This RB is biserial, RPB is point biserial, P1, P2 are proportions in two categories, pass and fail, dead and alive, that kind, and their product P1 into P2 is square root of that divided by y. Y is the value of ordinate of a normal distribution at a point which divides the total area into proportions P1 and P2. This is an example of biserial. Respondents, y variable, x variable. I have deliberately written y first and x later, although x is the independent variable here 0, 1, 0. Modernity is the independent variable, logic suggests, and schooling should be the dependent variable, schooling of children. Modernity of parents should be independent variable. What is written first actually does not matter. This is what I wanted to convey. Then we calculate y minus my, x minus mx, and for covariance this part, and so mean of one, mean of another, variance of one, variance of another, covariance, then point biserial. This is 0.745 using the standard Karl Pearson's correlation coefficient, and then this 0.745, this point biserial is converted into biserial by using this formula. 0.745 multiplied by half of them are zeros, half of them are ones. So, 0.5 square root and divided by ordinate of a normal distribution at a point which divides the total area of a normal distribution into two parts, half and half, that is 0.3989, and so the value of biserial correlation is 0.93. So, if you treat modernity as a kind of continuous variable, though you have 0, 1 dummies 0, 1, 0, 1, but if you treat it as continuous, that modernity is a continuous variable. Data you have on dummies, but modern and traditional dummies, but if you treat modernity as a continuing process, then the correlation coefficient should be seen as 0.93 and not as 0.745. Partial and semi-partial or part correlation requires basic understanding of regression. Calculation of partial or part correlations will require this regression understanding. We have not done regression yet. In some future lectures, we will talk about regression. When the effect of a third variable is removed from both, this I have already mentioned, the resulting correlation is partial, and when it is removed from only one variable, then it is part correlation. Sometimes you have non-linear relationships or means of dependent variables are given for different categories of x's. So, you calculate correlation ratio, square of correlation ratio eta square, this is the y x bar is the mean of y values for a given value of x, and y bar is the overall mean. This actually the numerator part means the variance explained, and this denominator part is total variance or variance of all the values of y irrespective of x, and eta square is the ratio of the two, and this is called square of correlation ratio. So, in case of non-linear relationships or in case of data in which y values are shown for different categories of x, you can calculate this correlation ratio. But this correlation ratio is calculated more as part of analysis of variance. Here we are trying to analyze variance of y according to x and overall. Example of data in which we have to calculate correlation ratio. There are different values of x, x may be quantitative or qualitative. This is qualitative, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Parsi, others, number of children, these are number of children. Then you can calculate variance of all these values, that will be the denominator, and if you calculate variance separately, sum of squares separately, that will be y x bar minus y bar square, multiply that by number of cases, these are number of cases in different categories, add and divide by total variance, you get square of correlation ratio. Now, for non-linear relationship, we can use the logic of correlation coefficient. Actually, when I say that this much variance is explained, square of correlation coefficient tells us variance explained, then there is a total variance and the remaining variance is called unexplained. We can use that logic for non-linear relationships also, like there may be a non-linear relationship y equal to b 0 plus b 2 x plus b 3 x square. If you calculate variance of all the y values and you fit this model, estimate values of y for different values of x and calculate their variance, then variance of estimated values divided by variance of y values, original values, that gives you a square of something. That something can be called a correlation in non-linear case. Limitations of empirical correlations must always be kept in mind. Empirical is not theoretical, empirical may be pseudo, that is due to other influences and not due to any real and asymmetrical and linear relationship. It may be relationship may be symmetrical, and then you get a correlation which cannot be interpreted. It may be non-linear. In such cases, theory is the best guide. Now, next question would be, is my correlation statistically significant? This will be discussed in the lecture on t-test. What significance mean? Whether the correlation coefficient that we observe has arrived due to sampling fluctuations or it can be assigned any meaning. There may be a population in which true correlation between x and y is 0, but your sample data gives you some correlation. That is insignificant, and to test whether something is significant or not, we have to go into hypothesis testing, and we have to know standard error of correlation coefficient and then apply t-test as t equal to correlation minus 0 divided by standard error of correlation coefficient. So, that we will do later. Statistical significance, however, does not mean existent or appreciable or worth considering relationship. It only significant correlation simply means that it cannot be due to sampling fluctuations. Statistical significance is about whether something is not due to sampling fluctuation. I emphasize this part. Do not forget the interpretation of R square. So, in this lecture we have talked about R square, and just introduce the idea of statistical significance of R. R is the correlation coefficient. Correlation coefficient is obtained by dividing covariance between two variables by square root of variance of x and variance of y. This covariance is sigma of x minus mx, y minus my divided by n, sample size, and variance you already know. Square of correlation coefficient is explained as percentage variance of the dependent variable, which is explained by the independent variables. Now, correlation coefficient as such is calculated when we, on the basis of review of literature, we can assume that the relationship, if it exists, would be linear. Sometimes review of literature suggests that the relationship would not be linear, it is curvilinear or parabolic, or it may be U shape, or it may be of some other shape. In that case, we may be using a non-linear model like y equal to a plus bx plus cx square, or maybe plus dx cube. And in such cases, we will use the logic, philosophy of correlation, and we will interpret R square as square of correlation as variance explained in the dependent variable by independent variable. We will use the same logic. So, in nonlinear relationship also, we will see that if a nonlinear model is fitted, then what variance is explained by the estimated values, that divided by variance of the raw scores of y, that is the variance explained, and square root of that may be seen as some kind of correlation coefficient, and that may be called correlation ratio. I have shown correlation ratio calculation for data in which for different categories of axes, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, etc., values of y, dependent variable in terms of number of children were shown, and their correlation ratio makes sense. But correlation ratio as such is part of analysis of variance. Some lectures in the future will be devoted to analysis of variance. Thank you.